Much better when you say it. Thanks for joining us from
Thanks for having me.
Hotlanta.
Pleasure to be here.
All right, so there is a difference between good debt and bad debt. Can you take us through what that difference is and what's good debt and what's bad debt?
Sure. Good debt is anything in my books that does one of two things. It either helps you enhance or increase your personal financial net worth, or it helps you with providing tax benefits, usually in the form of tax deductions. Now, bad debt, on the other hand, is anything that does neither of the above. It does nothing to try to enhance or grow your personal net worth, and it also does not provide you with any tax benefits.
Got it.
And so when you have good debt that actually does both, provide both tax benefits and can help you enhance your net worth, it doesn't get much better than that in the wealth creation game.
I get what you're saying. Can you give us some examples of where does a mortgage fall in?
Mortgage is a perfect example of good debt. Any debt that's tied to a personal residence or to some type of investment property is a perfect example of good debt. The key to being able to really utilize this is making sure that whatever you do as it relates to how you park your money, that it's parked in an environment or in an asset that you have liquidity use and control of those dollars, that it's earning a real rate of return, and that it can serve as collateral for you. And so a lot of people are up in arms about the fact that Mr. Zuckerberg has a 1% rate on that mortgage. But the fact of the matter is he's done such a phenomenal job of parking his assets in the right place that they serve as great collateral for the banks. And so the banks are very comfortable giving him preferential rates on that loan.
Right. But then you could also say he could clearly just buy the home.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And the whole block
just
that the home is on, and then furnish all the houses as well.
Probably the entire city that he lives in Palo Alto, for that matter. But you see, the thing is, Mark has come to realize that the proper definition of being debt-free doesn't necessarily mean that we eliminate all debt.
Gotcha.
That he actually recognizes that good debt can help him continue to increase his net worth.
And all of our viewers out there, Ike, need to know to listen to you because you've known a lot about debt intimately. In fact, you filed for bankruptcy, didn't you? Several years ago.
Oh, yes,
and now
I did.
You've come out and then some. Tell us about your story.
Absolutely. I was one of those kids who at a very early age was just passionate and very curious about money. So much so that as a 8-year-old kid, I'd take gifts that I'd received from my parents and stash that away in a makeshift bank, which was really my dad's old briefcase. So at a very young age, very curious about it. Was very successful early on in my career. But then I ended up in 2001 being the victim of really a lot of financial scams. I lost a lot of money in the stock markets. Lost a lot of money in those international scams. I had a ton of real estate in my portfolio that went bankrupt because I was unemployed as well. So when you think about the financial challenges that people face, I have been through every last one of them. Whether it's a Bernie Madoff type scam, whether it's losing your job, whether it's having foreclosures in your credit report, been through all of those. And the biggest shift for me that came that allowed me to go from a personal bankruptcy in 2003 to achieving financial independence in 2008 was recognizing that for my status, relative to the amount of income that I was making as a six-figure earner, that uncommon income demands and requires uncommon strategies. You see, as a six-figure earner, you're actually in the top 10% of the population. And so chances are you need to be managing and addressing your financial wherewithal a lot differently than 90% of the population.
Can we go through now, Ike, some of the financial planning myths out there? One of them is paying off your home mortgage provides you with financial security. Can you explain how that would be a myth and then give us some others?
Absolutely. That's such a big myth because a lot of people want the safety of knowing that they don't have the burden of that debt. But I'm so thankful about what's happened within our financial climate over the past 4 years because people now recognize that home values go up as well as go down. I'll give you a perfect example. Years back when we had Hurricane Rita and Katrina, a lot of people who would subscribe to traditional financial planning that says to eliminate the mortgage debt so you can be debt free, were now in a position where they had just done that. But then as soon as the hurricanes hit, not only did housing values plummet by as much as 50%, but for those of them who didn't have flood insurance, they were now in a position where they literally were being wiped out on that investment in their home. Compare that to somebody who realized that by keeping their house fully mortgaged, and accumulating all those funds outside of the house, in the event of something as catastrophic as that, they would now be in a position where they had liquidity, use, and control of dollars that they could actually use to try to recover in the midst of that financial calamity. Whether it's, even in the case of disability and job loss, we've seen a lot of people lose their jobs, and the next thing that goes is they can't make the mortgage payments because they were trying to pay off that house quickly and build a lot of equity, which is now vanquished. Again, it's just a matter of perspective in terms of being able to look at things a lot differently and recognizing that there may be a more efficient way to accomplishing what it is that you're ultimately trying to do in the first place.
Yeah, no, that's definitely a good tip, and of course perspective reigns on that one. But you also say here putting money in your 401k or another qualified plan saves you in taxes. That's a myth.
That's another big myth. Now, I love 401ks from the standpoint of them being a forced retirement savings vehicle, because a lot of people have a hard time with being disciplined about their investment. But the second major reason why people put money in a 401k is because of all the taxes that they think that they're going to save. And so I often give this analogy. Let's assume that you came to me for a short-term loan of $10,000, and I wrote you a check and I said, here's the check. I would expect you to ask at least two questions. The first question should be, well, when do I need the money back? And two, what's the interest rate going to be on that loan? And if my response to you were, well, things are really good for me right now, I don't need that money anytime soon, but you know what? When I do need the money, I'll come back and I'll tell you exactly how much I need, and we'll figure out what the interest rate should be then. My first question to you is, are you going to cash that check? And, the response I typically get is absolutely not, because there's too much risk there, because you have absolutely no idea how much money I'm going to need or what it's going to cost you.
Right.
Or for a lot of people participating in their 401ks, they're in fact taking on that same risk without any knowledge as to what the government is going to say they'll have to pay back at retirement in terms of what their tax rates are going to be.
Good
and
tips.
the big issue is, the big issue is when you look at our economy, you look at the amount of debt that we have, you look at Social Security, Medicare, these are all indications that taxes are headed up, not down.
Thank you so much, Ike Ikokwu. We got to end it there for coming.